Well, it has been nearly 2 years now since Russia invaded Ukraine, and the number of people who are in need of aid, especially children, continues to rise. From shelter to basic necessities, thousands of people relying on support from global allies as Ukraine struggles without additional funding coming in from the United States. So for more on the work that they are doing and the demand for more work to be done, let's bring in UNICEF Representative James Elder. James, we thank you for joining us from Kharkiv today, and UNICEF does such terrific work all around the world. What would you say about the children of Ukraine here 2 years into this war?
I think probably fear and isolation and resilience, no doubt resilience, but that resilience is coming at a cost. I mean, when I say fear, I was just a couple of hours ago speaking to a little girl who'd been injured, and I asked her, was there still pain? And she said, no, there's not pain, there's just fear. So the point is, particularly here in Kharkiv, I'm only 20 miles from Russia, so people here, it's very constant. The war is a daily thing for them. So for people, I think it's the impact after 2 years. It's quite hard to articulate what that does to the mental health of a child who is spending hours and days and weeks and months underground, no access to school, parents fraught with worry because, again, of the attacks and of the proximity to Russia here. So it is 2 years. It's been a very long 2 years, but they're living every single day. Unfortunately for people here, they don't feel an end in sight.
Well, I think about the children. You were talking about access to school. We have a tweet that came from your organization. It was put up to make that point, where it talks about an 11-year-old. The war changed my life a lot. I don't attend school anymore. I avoid places where there could be mines. I don't go for walks or summer swims in the river. Sometimes when we look at the pictures of a war and we look at the battles on battlefields, we forget about the everyday plights of people and kids who just want to go to school and they just can't do the normal stuff anymore.
Yeah, you make a really good point. It is the normal stuff. Where I am in this Kharkiv region, there are 2 schools out of 700 that are functioning. And both of those are because they are way, way underground. And I was in one of them today and I saw a teenage boy, maybe 16, just sitting at the back of the class, yawning. And it was almost this celebration of the normality of seeing that because it's so exceptional here. So yes, we're used to a war zone and seeing those wounds of war, which still happen here, of course, because there's still attacks. Three boys were burned to death a week ago. I walked in the shards of their home yesterday, and there's so much unexploded ordnance, but there's also just this psychological scarring of the entire generation of children. 2 years of COVID, 2 years of this war, 4 years. If there's one term I've heard dozens of times in the few days I've been here, it's just socialization. It's just this parents' fear and guilt because their children are not, as you rightly read out with that little boy, they're not getting to socialize. They're not going into nature. They're not hanging out with friends. Childhood is being robbed here.
Did many of them leave and then come back? We have other numbers here on the number of people who are displaced by the conflict. I'll put those up now. The conflict has exacted a heavy toll on children, leaving approximately 4.1 million in need of humanitarian aid. This was as of November of last year on your UNICEF numbers. But in terms of families, just a quick story. When I was on the border in a train station in Poland right as the war broke out, and I met this family. I stayed in touch with them for some time, but I lost touch after a while. It was a young woman, her mother and a grandmother. I remember they had a little dog with them, and they had left where you are. That's where they were from, and they were going to Eastern Europe. But then I heard from her after, the young woman, she said they went back. They went back to their city because the war dragged on for so long. Do you see some of that where families went away and now they're back, and even though there's war day to day to deal with?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a mix of income is a big driving factor. People have not been able to get work in other parts of the country or outside of the country. And so they have to come back despite the risks. Of course, there's simply links to family, but there's a lot of children I speak to here who've lost so many friends because they've just been spread across the country. There's people just feeling dislocated from their culture, but they know the risks of returning here, but many of them just don't have an option. I mean, one of the things UNICEF does, which has a real impact, is just cash grants, is getting cash to people try and reduce that one form of psychological stress, at least the fiscal stress. But yeah, a lot of people are returning. This, where I'm in Kharkiv, is a very difficult place to return to because, as I say, the last couple of months particularly, the attacks have been, again, pretty relentless.
Yeah, so that's what it's like day to day.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.